Hey guys, um, so it is December 31, 2020, the last day of the year before we start the new year. And I just wanted to make this video. I just got out the shower. My hair is still wet. But I just really love the feeling of being clean. That fresh out the shower feel. Um, but that only lasts for so long. Then you have to take another shower again because you get sweaty and dirty. Um, but what doesn't go away and what doesn't fade is the feeling of being clean in your spirit. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. Um, because if you take a shower, you'll have to take another shower again. But once your spirit is clean, it's clean. You don't have to clean it up again. Um, One of the things that I know that I carry victory in and I carry authority in is in two areas: purity and freedom from shame. And those are two areas that I used to suffer and struggle in for most of my life. Um, and it really used to eat my lunch, honestly. Um, but now that I walk in victory in those two areas, these are two things that I know that God really wants me to lead others to and help other people find freedom from shame and help other people walk in purity and share what I have with them and show them the way um, to victory in those areas. In the past, I used to feel so dirty, like all the time. Like I lived with this constant awareness of like my worthlessness, um, my dirtiness, my used upness. It's not really a word. um, but and a lot of that was tied to things that I had been through, things that I had chosen to do, things that had been done to me. Um, me evaluating myself based off of my behavior. I used to struggle a lot in the area of sexuality. And I think that's common for a lot of people. It's an area that the devil really likes to attack people in because sex was designed to be such a beautiful thing that the Lord made. And so obviously, he wants to take something that's meant to be so beautiful and wonderful and twist it and make it perverted and awful. Um, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my value and my worth. So I tried to find my identity from romantic relationships with men. Um, whenever you make someone else um, the person that's going to give you your value and your worth, whatever they think of you or whatever assessment they give you is what you're going to think of yourself. So like I was looking to a man for my identity, and if I didn't measure up in his eyes, then I knew that I didn't measure up. That felt true to me. um, and we always tend to sacrifice things to the thing that we've made God in our life. So romantic relationships have become like my idol or the thing that I would sacrifice anything to. So I ended up making decisions that I never thought I would make, that I never wanted to make. When I was a little girl, I always wanted, it was my ideal, to wait till marriage to have sex. Um, but that didn't happen because again, I had put man in charge of giving me my value, my worth. And so I knew that if I gave them what they wanted, they would give me what I wanted. Um, so I struggled with my sexuality, feeling dirty and used and ashamed because I had, crossed the line I never thought I would cross. Um, that shame, that shame started a shame cycle where you're trying not to do a behavior that you think is bad, but you already think you're worthless and you are bad. So then you don't even think you have the power to stop doing the bad thing. So then you do it again. And then, you beat yourself up, and like the shame perpetuates the bad behavior. It's shame that keeps you in bondage, right? If I didn't have the shame and if I felt that I was valuable and I thought that I was pure and innocent, then I wouldn't keep engaging in that behavior because I wouldn't feel trapped in it. Um, but anyways, I when I found my identity in Christ and realized that the gospel wasn't just about forgiveness, it wasn't just, oh well, God forgives you for making bad decisions, and it's okay, you get another chance to try again. that's not really that's not really good news, because like if I'm broken and if I'm twisted and if I'm dirty and used up and I get another chance, like how am I going to do better the second time? Right? Like if I'm a broken, dirty sinner and God's like, well, I forgive you, just try not to mess up again. I'm going to mess up again because that's like who I believe that I am. Right. So that's just like not really good news. It's like, oh man, like I've been forgiven, and now there's even more pressure to not mess up a second time, and even more guilt and shame when you do, right? So when I realized the gospel wasn't just about forgiveness, but it was about transformation, meaning that God doesn't just forgive you and leave you the same. God forgives you and then gives you grace, which empowers you to be completely different than you ever were. I never really understood that, but when I did finally understand that last year, it changed everything for me. I realized that I wasn't. It wasn't my job to fix myself and fix my behavior and manage my sin, so to speak, in order to become pure. I was already pure by Jesus's blood and through the gospel, right? So when I realized I wasn't striving for purity, but I was living from it, like that changed the whole game. And that might sound like semantics to you, um, but it's really not when you understand that, like, when you're trying to attain something you don't have, you're constantly aware of all the places and all the reasons why you're lacking in that area. But when you realize, like, I've already been given purity, I'm already been given back my innocence. Like you've already won. Like you don't have to try to win because you've already been given victory. You're not striving for victory, you're living from victory. So it's a completely different mindset. Um, when I didn't understand the aspect of transformation, when I was just trying to manage my behavior by myself and trying to become pure by, not doing the bad things. Like, okay, Grace, like this was me before I understood the gospel. I was like, okay, God forgives me. I'm going to become pure now. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to fall into masturbation, and I'm going to like keep track of the days. Right. And so like I would hit my like 2 week streak and I'd feel really good about myself. And then temptation would come and I'd start to, like my willpower would be strong. But then after a while, willpower starts to like decline. You can't like, willpower eventually runs out. And then like the fact that I would feel tempted would make me feel super shamed and guilty. I'd be like, oh man, the fact that I'm feeling this temptation right now proves that I'm really not pure at all. It proves that I'm still dirty. It proves that I'm still, impure and all these different things. And so then that shame cycle would drag me down, and I would start to engage in the things I didn't want to do because I believed that that's just who I was. Right. Like, let me tell you, like, I literally tried everything. Like I made pacts with myself, I made contracts. I literally like even signed like stuff in blood to myself saying like you will not do this ever again, but like I was serious. Like I tried all the things, like every possible thing. Like I tried that like, reward and punishment thing, like, like every day you do good, you get like to give yourself a treat, or like, punishing yourself. I really tried, and that's just like that just goes to show you that like willpower doesn't work. Like you cannot become pure and holy by your willpower and managing your sin and managing behavior. That's not what the gospel is about. If we were able to do that, if that was possible, then Jesus wouldn't have had to come. Like, but because it's not possible, that's why Jesus had to come. um so yeah, I hit the breaking point so many times because I realized I couldn't become pure by my own behavior. And now, when I realized that like the gospel makes you pure, the gospel makes you born again. Literally, your old self is dead. Like it was crucified with Christ. In the same way that Jesus was risen again and got a new body and became new, we have risen with him and become new. So not through any work on my own and not through anything that I did, I became pure and holy just by believing what God said about me. God says, because you're born again, you are pure, you are holy, you are innocent, right? And when I believed that, the shame cycle was broken because shame no longer had a voice, right? Shame was silenced. And so when temptation came knocking at my door, and you start to feel, you know, the urges or the thoughts or whatever, instead of being like, oh man, I'm being tempted, that proves that I'm dirty, that proves I'm not pure, and I'm, instead of letting it be a source of shame, the temptation was just like, devil, like, that is that all you got, really? Like, you can't bring that over. Like, stop. Like, you can't tempt me with that. Like, that's not who I am. Right? Like, just because you're trying to tempt me to do something doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Right? Even Jesus was tempted, right? And there was nothing inherently sinful and dirty or impure about Jesus. Temptation doesn't point out something wrong with you. Temptation just points out that you're being attacked, right? It's not an internal problem, it's an external problem. So, anyways, um yeah, so for me, my experience is I used to struggle so much with, struggling to maintain purity with relationships with men and not falling into sexual sin with them. I used to try and make checkpoints. I used to try and be like, okay, I'm not gonna kiss a boy for a year, right? And then I'll be pure. And of course, I never made that mark. I used to say, okay, like I'm not gonna fall into masturbation for 6 months. And if I can make that mark, then I'll feel pure. Never could make these standards, right? So I used to live in a constant state of dirtiness. I used to live in a constant state of shame. And now because of the gospel, I now live in purity and innocence, and I'm set free from all of that shame. And so because I walk in freedom in that, I want to share it with you and let you know that it's possible. Um, like honestly, I can't even remember the last time that I like willingly chose to engage in masturbation. Like I honestly can't, because it's not even a problem anymore. Like that's how different and how much of a game changer your mindset is. Because I mean, I'll get tempted every now and then, but it doesn't overtake me because there's no shame attached to it. Shame is what breaks you, and shame is what keeps you in bondage. Um, I literally can't remember. It's been probably 6 to 9 months maybe since I've even like since I've fallen into masturbation. Um, and I am proud that today I am celebrating, what is it, October, November, December. I'm celebrating 2 years and 2 months of being sex free. And the last time I even kissed a boy was over over a year and a half ago. And not that those matter. Like it could have been yesterday that I engaged in those things. And if I found the gospel today and realized my identity, I would be pure today, even if I had done all that stuff yesterday, because it's not your behavior that defines you one way or the other. If your sin can't make you, oh, sorry, if good deeds apart from Jesus can't make you righteous, then your bad deeds can't make you a sinner, right? So, anyways, that's just the good news I want to share with you. Of this new year, um, to give you hope. And if you're struggling in any of these areas, if you're struggling in purity, or if you're just struggling, feeling in bondage to shame from any other reason, um, purity tends to, purity and shame tend to go together, but there can be shame from anything. Um, and if you want me to pray with you or talk to you, I'd be very happy to do that. Um, Feel free to reach out. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys have a great new year. I love you all.